With the largest coverage map of any West Texas station. This is the voice of West Texas. This is your morning drive. This is News Talk KCRS.
Trying to get you to work and to school this morning safely, so be careful out there. We may actually get another couple of raindrops in the whole picture of things today. So leave it here. We'll have Greg come back and check with us again on the weather around the area. Meantime, here at the radio ranch, we're going to introduce you to someone maybe you've met, maybe you haven't. Kevin Roberts is with us this morning. He's with the Texas Policy Foundation out of Austin. Little pause.
Thanks.
Little pause there. I know we're a little nervous about Austin sometimes.
Oh,
so
sure.
The People's Republic of Austin.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I thought there would be sort of a modifying phrase there. That's what we're accustomed to in Austin. And we are based in Austin.
We just have to be careful. We just have to be careful with some of the folks that show up from Austin.
Yeah.
And,
fair enough.
We send people to Austin sometime, and they come back. I don't know.
What happened to them?
It takes them about a week just to clear their head.
Well, I will tell you, as I always say when I'm in Midland, and I mean it, it's great to be in West Texas with real people.
Mm-hmm.
We're a little careful about saying that in Austin because there are real people there. But
have you guys changed over to California license plates there yet?
Right. Our phrase is Texas Public Policy Foundation prevents the Californiization of Texas.
Yes.
And now we've updated that to say we're trying to prevent the Austinization of Texas. So
that's the truth. So just cut to the chase. What are you doing here?
What am I doing here? I'm being harassed by a couple of radio guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, you are.
Which is what we were expecting. Well, we are a state-based think tank, and so people sometimes say, well, what in the world is a think tank? Mm-hmm. And what we do as a think tank is research a number of policy areas and try to help the legislature make good decisions. So right-of-center decisions. Mm-hmm. We are a conservative, libertarian organization, and founded in 1989 to focus on tort reform and school choice. Mm-hmm. Since that time, we've grown from a couple of employees to nearly 60, and we have 9 or 10 different policy areas ranging from working on energy and environment, which of course out here in Midland people care deeply about, to things such as education freedom. We're in the next legislative session, we're trying to get education savings accounts passed. Yeah. We have grown because we've been effective, and one of the reasons we've been effective is that we pair very high quality research with effective lobbying, in the best sense of that term, of legislators, and we actually get things done. So when we decide to get involved in an issue, because we have the spirit of serving the people of Texas, people usually listen. And so we have excellent academics who could be doing other things, researching in their policy areas. Our senior economist, for example, is a Texas Tech PhD. So he's got that spirit of Lone Star Liberty and takes that into his research. And he's also very effective in explaining to legislators and other elected officials why the policy recommendations we have ought to be enacted. So we're out here in Midland talking to friends of TPPF, the Texas Public Policy Foundation, about what their priorities are, not just in oil and gas, but also in some other issues. But obviously out here in the Permian Basin, we are very interested in pushing back on the administration's Clean Power Plan and all the other nonsense that's come from D.C.
Sure.
Well, of course, we're pretty active out here with what else going on with the Railroad Commission, things like that, with the oil and gas industry. But also education has become a pretty big factor. There's a lot of issues, even pertaining to our cities out here, the way things are going and the way not Washington, but the way Austin will regulate. We're sitting here arguing back and forth about whether Uber should be in town or not. And I know you guys had that issue in Austin.
It seems like an awfully back burner topic in my mind. I mean, when you have school finance that's still up in the air and school districts getting hammered with huge bills.
And I'm throwing a lot at you, but we've just come off an issue with the city council in Midland raising taxes on property taxes.
We've heard about that the last couple of days.
Did you?
Yeah, I bet you have.
And one of our city councilmen we visited with last week was very adamant to explain that we have a lot of money sitting over here in the tourist hotel motel tax, but we can't use it to do this with and that with, which are like improve the roads or something like that, which the oil traffic is torn up. Thank you very much. And they think that doesn't have anything to do with tourism to Midland. Well, it does. But anyway, there's a whole thing that Austin, I don't know, state legislature, all the big government entities, whether it's Washington or Austin, seems to want to tell us how to use our money, and I think some of it is our money. And, of course, the school district, we're a Robin Hood school out here. We're sending money. We're just writing checks like crazy out here to send away. So
it's frustrating, isn't it?
Yeah, where the real foul occurs is it's predicated on valuations that are outdated.
Yeah,
they don't do an intermediate reevaluation. So we're paying predicated on property values that existed during the boom. That's gone, but we're still having to pony up the dough.
Well, it's a classic case, isn't it, of government overreach, but government overreach with the worst timing. Yeah. So out here, I grew up in oil and gas town, Lafayette, Louisiana, so I understand Odessa and Midland very well.
Sure.
A lot of family who have lived out here.
Yeah.
And so in this down cycle, and we know there's going to be an up cycle, and don't know exactly when, but in this down cycle, it seems as if government would be serving the people, not just oil and gas people, but all people better by doing that kind of intermediate evaluation. The good news, or a little bit of good news, is that we are focused not just on kind of macro level policies, but we have a Center for Local Governance, which has become one of our fastest growing centers. And right-minded legislators, and thank goodness there are many guys and gals in Austin who have really gravitated toward that center, because we're looking at things like transparency in government conversations. We heard a lot about that over the last couple of days, especially from folks in Midland. And secondly, looking at things like addressing the rollback on property tax, some of the issues that you discussed. And we're also trying to make sure that citizens in municipalities understand that while we can be frustrated with what's going on in the federal government, things at the state level, relatively speaking, are going pretty well. But really what's happening is kind of a fifth column is what's occurring in cities and counties. And so that Center for Local Governance is really important in emphasizing the following point. You can be frustrated at the feds, you can be sort of pleased at what's going on at the state level, but don't forget about what's going on at your city and council level. Go to meetings. And that's what we heard yesterday, and realize that folks just don't have the time. They don't take the time to go to those meetings, and you have to show up to be heard.
Kurt's going to lay a book on you here.
Well, all right. No, I'm just saying, in fairness, Kevin, quite frankly, when you hold a meeting at 10 o'clock in the morning, give me a break. Why don't you guys hold it at 6:30, and then everybody could attend it before they went to their jobs? Well, so, they're not city council members. They're public, just normal Joe public. They have obligations. My employer doesn't understand if it's like, hey, sorry I wasn't here when we started at 6, but I'm here now at 6:45, so no harm, no foul, right? Wrong-o. I won't keep a job if I do that. It's disingenuous for the city council to complain that, hey, we held a hearing on tax rates and nobody showed up.
I agree entirely, and that's one of the issues that we look at the foundation. And so what I would encourage people here to do is to start a petition to move the meeting times from 10 to 6 or 6:30.
I mean, they can have their regular meetings whenever they want to, but if they're going to ask the public to come out and comment on stuff, I mean, let's be serious. I mean, and I know that we have asked them, city council members. We ask a lot of city council members and county commissioners and this kind of thing because they don't get paid. Well, city council didn't get paid what, $3 a minute,
$6. I don't know,
$6 a year. I don't know, something crazy. But nonetheless, there's a lot of somewhat serious decisions for a lot of
especially when you take a look at a downturn economy, and then every taxing entity, every one of them, is asking for more money.
That's right,
and it's either. And then what's really terribly disingenuous is we're not going to go up on your rate.
Right.
We're just going to increase your valuation. Okay, we're going to go up on your rate. Why? Because your valuation went down. You can't win. Yep. They get you both ways, and it's kind of a shell game, to tell you the truth.
Okay, now we're getting all these problems, Kevin. How can you fix these for us?
How can you fix it? So you got another 15 minutes. Tell us how you're going to fix all of this, okay?
Well, that's good. If there were an entity that could fix those things or help fix those things, I really believe it'd be the Texas Public Policy Foundation.
Good. Well, here you are.
Yeah, so where do we start, guys?
Well, our job.
You're right.
We just leave now.
Okay, roll up your sleeves.
Your morning is so free, you can go to the city council meeting.
Well, you mentioned things in Texas are so good. They must be good. We're letting our former governor go on Dancing with the Stars.
Right.
Come on, we have nothing to do here. Come on.
Governor Perry's a great friend of the foundation.
Sure he is. Sure he is.
Absolutely. I've not seen him dance, but I think he said He hasn't danced much. To answer your question, we every year for the legislative session, because although we're involved in some federal things and some local things, we're focused on the state legislative session. We put together something called the Liberty Action Agenda. So for the 2017 session, starting in January, as you know, we have a list of 7 policy areas that we want to get involved. And we don't, people who want to see what we're doing can go to TxPolicy.com, especially if they're a little policy wonkish. But my message this morning for people, because I grew up in a place like Odessa, is we also speak in plain English. So it's really important that we have that high quality academic research, but you can see on TxPolicy.com these summaries of what we're trying to do. And so among those 7 policy areas, we're focused on education. So we think that if people have gotten accustomed, citizens have gotten accustomed to this shell game of the rhetoric of city council and county commissioners, that I think it's an indictment of our education programs. And not an indictment of the people in them. I mean, we believe that teachers, of course, are great and well-intentioned. We want to find some innovation that puts the power back in the hands of parents. And so we're really focused in the coming session on education savings accounts, which is sort of education reform 2.0. It would give parents the opportunity to spend their money, so to your point, their money that comes from the state taxes, so we're not affecting teachers' salaries, and to be able to use that on private school tuition or even a hybrid kind of program. If they're going to be doing some homeschooling, they can have math tutoring using this education savings account. So there are a lot of coalitions involved in that.
Kevin Roberts, our guest this morning. Let me ask you another question. This is a big picture question, and it's a deep into the pool question, what we refer to deep into the pool questions. And this is a good question, I think, for you. Texas Policy Foundation, right-minded thinking is what you described it. And a lot of people are worried that Texas has a real problem with going more liberal. Maybe we're not going to be a red state forever and forever. And I've had so this program especially, and Kurt will testify that we have a lot of people call us that say, "Man, the city council's a real progressive. This school board really progressive."
Intense frustration.
And we all know, I think we do, most of us know that. Hey, the closest person that can hurt you is the closest piece of government to you.
Right.
And if they start being more liberal, more progressive, more this, more something else, I mean, that's just the start of Texas looking not quite as red as it used to. And you're talking about having a lot of good legislators. Well, okay, but is it starting?
Yes, your question is timely, I think, for Texas, but also for conversations that we have at our foundation. In short, what I mean by that is you're spot on. Number one, I hate the word progressive because it means that those of us who don't identify as progressive are regressive.
We must be
and I don't
bad.
think we're regressive.
We gotta be bad.
Yeah, right. I think we're focused on traditions and good things. But the second point, which gets to the real nuts and bolts of what you're saying, is that for a generation, we have really forgotten about the importance of local government. And we've set our sights on state level and federal level activity, and those things are good to do. But I think you're spot on, Robert, in saying that over the next generation, what's happening at the local governments will, in fact, come up to the state and federal level. And so to get to solutions, because I know that's what you want to hear from me today, what we at TPPF have promoted is having the state get involved, which is counterintuitive, right? Because we don't really like centralized power. But remember that the state of Texas provides the charter to these city and county governments. And it is the state's obligation to check the power of those city and county governments. And to people who would say, Kevin, that's not a very conservative solution, I would point you to the Constitutional Convention, the debates, where people we would agree with today express concern about the most nefarious power being that power closest to us. And so I think that we really have to almost recalibrate our thinking in the 21st century in Texas in order to make sure that this quote-unquote progressivism in cities and counties does not go unchecked.
The bad
Did
part
he
is...
just say that in order to be more conservative, we needed bigger
Austin involved.
I did not say bigger government.
Bigger government.
He just said you need Austin involved.
Austin involved.
Well, don't say Austin involved. Say the state legislature.
State legislature involved. Okay.
All right. I'm
I'm
not trying to put
I'm
words in
happy
your
for the
mouth. I just
governor
wanna
or
make sure.
lieutenant governor to be involved. That's fine with me, either one. Relative to you espouse libertarian values, are you associated with libertarians or are you politically independent?
We are independent. We're a 501c3 organization, so I use the word libertarian and conservative in the small L and small C sense, which gives you a sense of our philosophy.
Yeah.
So
because we all know, don't we, that the Libertarian Party has no chance, a snowball's chance in heck of making any move in the national politics unless they just play as spoilers.
That's what I've read. We spend so much time focusing on policy and getting the legislative session.
You stay away from
prepared.
that.
That's correct.
Okay.
So you can see me actively trying to stay away from that.
Even
though you're doing a good job of goading me.
Are you engaged in social issues?
We aren't, and not that we disagree with our coalition partners on those issues, but there are such strong coalition partners on those issues that we're focused on personal responsibility, liberty, free enterprise. We have developed, especially under the leadership of our president, Brooke Rollins, over the last decade and a half, just great effectiveness on the issues that we focus on. And we can't get it all done. No single organization can get all of the issues done. And so we've recognized our role in the conservative movement in the Texas public square and beyond, and I think we occupy that well.
If I understood what you were telling me relative to the savings account for education, that would mean a portion of my property tax would be put into a savings account? Is that,
actually,
am I
your
reading this
property
right?
tax would stay here at the local district. So this would be the state portion of the per student allocation each year for maintenance and our portion of maintenance and operations.
Okay, so where does the savings come for this account?
The savings comes from, on average, about $6,000 per student per year that would be allocated by the state based on state revenue.
This account in my name to take care of my child.
Vetted by the comptroller as we think it will be designed. So this is based on a couple of similar programs, one passed in Nevada, one passed in Arizona.
I'd have to believe that public schools would be absolutely solidly entrenched against that.
There is opposition by most folks affiliated with public schools, and of course we pride ourselves in being cheerful warriors. So we may have a very serious disagreement there. We respect their position, but we believe that the proof is in the pudding, right? If you look at the data, you talk to parents and to students, we're simply not getting the job done. And we're not getting the job done because there's been ill intention on behalf of teachers. I really want to allay concerns of specific teachers. We're not getting the job done because if you give me $1, Kurt, and you say, Kevin, go spend this on education, back here in your local district, you're only going to get 44 cents. And you've been in business, I've been in business, and that simply doesn't
a money-losing situation.
That's right.
No matter how you cut it.
That's right. And so the outcomes are going to be poor. And it's time that when we make decisions for school children in Texas, that we think about them, not about all of the means of getting there. In other words, we really want to let parents decide. And if 2 or 3% of parents decide to participate in these programs, studies show that public schools begin to innovate. And so we actually believe we're helping public schools by bringing this innovation.
By that small I mean, usually we like to think of the majority, and we think of, when we think of 2 or 3%, that's all?
That's right.
That can move the needle.
And that's the value of a think tank, right? That we're able to really get into the weeds on those issues and talk to partners in other states and figure out that that's sort of the tipping point where we want to harm public schools. We want them to become more effective. And if the conversation is about effectiveness and success, we find a lot of common ground with our public school friends.
Texas Policy Foundation Executive Vice President Kevin Roberts in town. And visiting, as he said, with friends. Are you leaving town right away? Or are you going to be here for a few days to see other people, or what are you planning?
Great question. We've had about 10 staff members from the foundation here out in Odessa and Midland the last couple of days, and I think the remaining part of that contingent is heading back to Central Texas this afternoon. So
the good news that you forgot something is that you're here and you didn't have to pay $500 a night for a hotel room, which if you'd have been here,
that's correct.
That would have been up there. What do folks do to find out more about your organization and what you do, and if they want to be involved or know where you are, what do they do?
Then go to TxPolicy.com. We have a wonderful website and look at all of our research and see what we're doing there. We have events around the state, including in Odessa and Midland, so they can sign up for an email. We're not going to send a bunch of spam, but really research focused. And we've got to be focused on this legislative session coming up because we have great conservative momentum and we really want to accelerate that. So TxPolicy.com.
TxPolicy.com. Kevin Roberts, thank you for coming in this morning. We appreciate you being in town and visiting with us, putting up with us.
That was great. Thanks for putting up with us.
We just take this back to Austin with you, okay? 7:57 in the morning, News Talk, KCRS.
News and talk for West Texas. News Talk 550 KCRS.